You know what it is! It's Taco Tuesday!
Last week, I talked about how we desperately need innovation and quality projects in NFTs that are gonna get people excited. New Web3 brands and startups that are doing things we haven't seen done before in the space, that are gonna onboard a whole new group of people into NFTs and just make NFTs fun again. In today's video, I'm gonna cover what I believe to be the hottest upcoming mints on both ETH and Solana, and just give you guys an overview and all of the important details that you need to know, along with my thoughts on each of them. If you guys enjoy the content on the channel, hammer the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. Back in May, I dedicated an entire video to a single review on a Solana project because I thought it was going to be that big of a mint and I was that bullish on it. That video was for Duppies, which has since been rebranded to Y00ts and Utopia, which is a Solana project by Frank and the team from DGod. Y00ts is going to be a big deal for a lot of reasons, and I think it's important that we look at the founder in Frank. He's probably one of the most well-respected founders, not just in the Solana community, but Ethereum as well, and it's for a lot of reasons. He's always active in Twitter spaces, talking about, DGod's, Y00ts, whatever, just chopping it up. But he is so active on Twitter throughout the day, just tweeting, being active in the community, and extremely transparent as well, which I think so many project founders in NFTs lack. Just communication skills, just being transparent, letting the community know what they're building and kind of the process and thought process. So Frank is crushing it in that regard, which is going to make you bullish. So I want to look at the Y00ts white paper, basically their white paper. For many of you out there, you've bought or you've minted an NFT before. Let's just say maybe there's like a detail or two, like let's say you have like a chain on or a hat and you're not a big fan of that, right? There's never been, at least to my understanding, and it's not massively adopted or successful, there's not a project out there that really allows you to customize your NFT after it's already been minted. There's a ton of instances where I've minted, bought an NFT, and I just want to change like one or two things about it that would make it look so much cooler. Y00ts is really diving into this kind of concept. Basically, an artist creates a trait, they're going to submit it, and then if it is accepted, it will be added to the Y00ts store. The Y00ts store is going to be where you're able to use both Solana and Dust. I'm not sure about ETH, but I know Solana and Dust for sure. And you're going to actually be able to buy some of these traits and use them to actually change what your NFT or your PFP looks like, which is really cool, right? The best part about that is the artists and creatives who actually submit these traits. Once they're sold and traded, they're actually going to get a small percentage of royalties for doing that. So this is going to incentivize artists to actually participate in making the Y00ts look better and improved and whatever they think could be possible. And that is also going to reward holders where if they just slightly want to change it or customize it, they have that opportunity. And another thing that they talk about, which is really cool, is actually bringing in brands outside of the ecosystem. So let's say, another project, like, I don't know, let's just say Bored Ape, for example. So someone submits a Bored Ape shirt trait that's going to be kind of a collab between, Bored Apes and DGods. Also, think outside of the ecosystem of NFTs. Think about maybe like North Face. Maybe there's a North Face jacket where Y00ts kind of has some partnership, and North Face jackets are something that you can add as like a top clothing for your Y00ts, right? When we talk about customizing your Y00ts, it's not just going to be like you're able to just completely change whatever they look like. There is going to be some rules on what you're able to do. And I think this is going to be a lot more strict, but it's also good that way because it kind of keeps rarity intact, right? Let's say you pay a ton of money for like a gold Y00ts. It won't make it to where someone who has just a floor Y00ts is able to just make him gold. So they definitely keep that in mind here. And it'll be interesting once they fully roll that and explain that out. There is going to be staking involved though, where you're going to stake your Y00ts and actually receive a Y token. And that's going to basically determine when and how many times you're able to customize your Y00ts. So it says there's going to be a maximum of 6 tokens any Y00ts can hold. Another thing that they talk about is sub communities, which is really important here. Kind of DAOs within the actual Y00ts community. And we've seen this done in the past with a lot of projects. Usually, the 20 or so members that all have that trait will create like a DAO or a community where they kind of dictate the price of that trait. They kind of have their own little alpha group and many other things. On Y00ts Twitter, they're going to have a link to their website where you guys can see, one, the preview of the Y00ts and kind of the art that they're going going for here, but it will also include the apply for Utility. Basically, the greater portion of UTs is going to be for DGOTS holders. That's part of the reason why the floor is held up so well and is going to probably continue to rise until launch. For the people that aren't DGOTS holders or don't want to pay 300 SOL, there is this scholarship process where basically you apply, you answer the questions that are, pretty short, pretty brief, but you just give the best possible response you have, why you're passionate about UTs, why you're passionate about NFTs, and then they're going to select the best people from there. And I actually love the way they've handled Utility. I think this is better than the whitelist meta. I think this is better than using pre-mint or any of these other raffling where it's just random, because let's face it, if you're doing any kind of raffling system, there's going to be people who actually care about the project and those who just get lucky and say, oh, free money, let me flip it. For Utility, you actually have to fill out that scholarship application, give a little bit of insight into who you are, why you care, what you've done in the space. And so they are kind of handpicking these applicants based on that criteria. I think ultimately you get a better idea of, who these holders are, and it kind of helps you create the culture that you're looking for as a project founder. They've gone even a step further though. They've created this Utility Twitter where they're actually tweeting out a welcome message to everyone who is accepted. And you guys will see here, they'll tweet out someone and then these tweets are getting rated from the DGOTS community and for everyone who's been accepted. Likes, retweets, tons of congratulations from everybody, just showing a lot of love. And for the Utility, you get an idea of who's actually applied and who's going to be minting this project. And there's been some massive names just in the general crypto space, massive influencers, content creators, artists, developers, shit posters, you name it. There's been some big names that have made me mega bullish about just who's been accepted and who's going to be minting UTs. I would highly recommend everyone goes and applies. It doesn't hurt. It won't take too long because UTs is going to be one of the biggest upcoming mints. Next, we'll hop over to ETH now, where we have YZ00, which I think is one of the most talked about, hyped up, anticipated projects that's going to be dropping in the near future. YZ00 actually just had a Twitter Spaces yesterday with the team talking and explaining the project. They had over 3,000 live listeners. Now, some of that could have been botted, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was. They also have 126,000 followers, which in this market is kind of hard to believe. I'm assuming a decent amount of that is botted, given just how they've hosted giveaways on their Twitter with these, like and retweet giveaways. Something key to know with YZ00 is that it's the sister project of Psychedelics Anonymous, or PA, which is what a lot of people call it for short. Psychedelics Anonymous, the Genesis collection, it's been around for quite a while. I think coming up on a year this fall. I know a ton of people that hold Psychedelics Anonymous asset or even the Genesis collection. I've never been a big fan just because I don't think these are very PFP usable. The big thing to keep in mind here is a 0.7 floor price for the Genesis collection. It's held up extremely well. I think that speaks to the team with Y00ts, who I'll talk about in just a second. But they also do have, I think, 7 or 8 other collections with different assets and clothing from the Psychedelic Anonymous ecosystem. So 7 to 8 projects, that is a lot. The fact that the Genesis is holding at a 0.7 and it used to be multiple ETH back during the bull run, this is one that held up well. A lot of people do believe in it. I would say that the PA community is one of the stronger ones that I see just from a Twitter presence. I mentioned Y00ts. He is going to be the founder of Psychedelics Anonymous, and then obviously he's going to be the marketing and kind of the big founder for YZ00 as well. But he does a great job of articulating what is going on in the market and just kind of his thoughts. YZ00 is mainly going to be this fashion and technology project, kind of bringing that synergy between the two. The gist of YZ00 is going to be around the product and this innovation of where to earn. Now, if you guys are familiar with Stefan, which was a Solana-based project quite a while back, it was around these shoes that you could basically buy as an NFT. You could even upgrade and repair them, and it tracked your steps and gave you tokens based on how many steps you did in a day or in a week. And you could basically, there was a liquidity pool, so you could actually convert those tokens into actual currency, or you could use it to, buy and upgrade your shoe and earn more. So that onboarded a ton of people. It got a ton of people excited. And I think YZ00 is basically building on that concept with a where to earn. There's a lot to unpack here. I'm going to try to just keep it as simple and basic as I can. Basically, they're going to be using an NFC chip attached or in the clothing to track when you're wearing it, where you're wearing it, to what events you're wearing it, and the activities that you're doing, who's around you, you. It's basically going to be tracking and providing data to these clothing brands, and ETH is going to be selling that data to these particular brands. And they have some examples here. So let's say North Face puts out a bounty, go on your local hiking trails, you wear any kind of North Face gear, whether it's, a hat or a shirt, and, as you're hiking, you will be rewarded by basically being a brand ambassador. Like you have, North Face on your clothes, so that's exposure. And then whatever you're doing, who you're with, where you're at, that data will then be shared with North Face. They'll be basically buying that from ETH. It's a concept that I gotta be honest with. Like, I think it's very interesting. It's very much an idea. I think they've made that apparent that if you invest or mint in ETH, there's not going to be a development, next week or even next month. This is something where you're investing in an idea, and whatever developments or innovation, it's not going to come for months down the road, maybe not even a year. They still have to actually partner with certain brands to actually make this possible, where they're actually selling the data, and there's actually going to be some kind of reward for holders for actually participating, right? They talk about a brand like North Face and Nike. I don't know if those brands are actually going to care to buy that kind of data, right? They already have the data from your mobile devices and your computer whenever you're on their site, and how you get to their site, where you're located there. A lot of that data is already out there, but it'll be interesting to see if actual brands are going to be interested. Maybe some boutique brands will use this as a way to get exposure, right? A small company will say, hey, if you wear this, we'll pay you, and then they'll get an idea of where people are actually wearing their clothes and who they're around to help find their market. Once again, we're looking for innovation, unique ideas. So I think ETH is just going to be interesting and capture people's attention off of that alone, right? They're just trying to do something. It's tech innovation. So this is something to keep your guys' eyes on, especially if you're interested in tech and fashion and how like the synergy between the two and what's possible for the future. This could be something that you could really get into, I'm sure. Me personally, I think it is a lot to overcome. There are a lot of question marks on the execution. So if you guys do get whitelisted or you're a PA holder, obviously I think this will be a great flip. I think performance wise, it'll do very well. And I think this is one where maybe you revisit down the line long term as they're actually getting closer to launching, the app or some of the developments, and they bring on some of those partners. In my opinion, these are the biggest drops, at least for the foreseeable future. There are a ton of other notable projects that I'll talk about in a future video for ones that I just have that are on my list and upcoming. Obviously, there's some pros to cons to each of them, which I covered. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on each in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed the video, hammer the like button, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, I'm out.